Greetings, folks, and welcome to today's show. You're reminded, of course, that the election season is upon us. We're electing 2 candidates for the Board of Aldermen and 2 for the school board in Tullahoma. Each of them has 4 candidates, and so we've divided it into, for each one of the positions, we've divided it into 2 so that we could give them a little more time. The election is August the 1st, so you've got some decisions to make and can't be too long about it. Our guests today are 2 folks you're familiar with. John Manis, who is currently on the school board and is up standing for re-election, and Brack Thoma, who served on the board for quite a few years and has been off now, but decided he needs to come back and refresh it some more. So, and because we're both sort of familiar with them, I'm going to skip some of the usual time we give them to talk about their own, why they think they ought to be the one and so forth. So, and hopefully we can spend a little more time on the broader issues. The school systems, operating a school system, whether from a board standpoint or the director standpoint, is one of the toughest jobs in town, probably the toughest among all the elected positions. You both been there. Would you agree with that? Or is that a...
Well, it's challenging. I don't know. I'm not in a position to say it's the toughest because I haven't been in anybody else's shoes, but it certainly presents a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's since both of you have been there, what do you consider the best personal characteristics for a board member? What do they have to come to the table with? John?
Well, first off, I think you have to come into the position understanding that you're there representing, you're there because people have elected you to do a job, which is to work with the superintendent to make sure that you have sound policies and procedures and that you represent also the interests of the community as a whole. So one of the things when I ran was I wanted to make sure that every single decision I make is actually in the best interest of the students first, as well as then the parents, the taxpayers. So you have a lot of things you have to think about, the teachers, the administration, superintendent. And so I think one of the things that people look for is somebody that's going to keep an open mind about certain things, ask the right questions, but I also think it takes someone who has some acumen around, organization. You are right, it is a difficult position to come into, and in fact, having now been in 4 years, there's a learning curve involved as well. Yeah. So it takes somebody that's got an open mind, somebody that can articulate issues and bring issues up, but also I think for everyone is that you provide an ear for the community, and then taking that and actually making sure that there's clear objectives for the superintendent to then administer the school system.
All right, Brack?
Well, Tom, I think it's extremely important that people that want to serve on the school board realize that we do have a wonderful public education system in Tullahoma. It affords our students an opportunity to receive a world-class education. Now, our school system just didn't fall in our lap. It's a product of several generations working hard to build a good school system, not only with the time they've given to as a volunteer, be it in the classroom, extracurricular activities, or as a school board member, and have also supported with their dollars and cents through taxation. So it's, to me, the preservation of an excellent school system and the need to preserve it is probably the largest quality I see of someone coming on. You have to have that passion.
Okay, and you're going to run into problems where you don't agree. How do you handle that? What do you, how how do you decide what to do, and then after it's done, what do you do with it?
Well, I have no problem with people disagreeing. My dad used to say, if two people always agree, only one's thinking. And I firmly believe that. But I think you have to disagree in an agreeable manner. All the years I served on the school board, I certainly was on the short end of the stick on several votes. But I never left the building mad at anybody. So you have to learn to work and build consensus. And when a vote is over, it's over. And you go about your business. And you try to make that vote be the best vote for the students.
Okay. And then move on. Okay. John, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with Brack. You know, if you put smart people in a room, you know, with my staff, and I only have one person that's coming up with all the ideas, then you're really only having one person that's really contributing. I think that there are always going to be instances where differing opinions about certain situations will occur. I mean, that's a natural, you know, way of, if you're truly doing work, and I agree with Brack that if you're truly doing work, you're going to have disagreements in some of the fundamental areas. The issue is, you know, bringing that activity actually is where true innovation or the best ideas kind of rise. And yes, some will say, you know, for instance, like what we have in Congress or some of those things, you know, is we create a lot of gridlock or whatever to not get things done. And I think and agree also that once a decision is made, you support it. It's a majority decision, and you have to support that decision. So I've always supported the decisions that have been made by the majority, even though I've also been on the minority at times as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, folks, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and talk to these gents some more.
The highest standard of trust offers a sense of safety and comfort. It's established over time. You know when you see it. You know when you feel it. There's a standard of trust in healthcare. It's the Joint Commission Gold Seal of Approval. In 2003, Life Care Center of Tullahoma voluntarily achieved this accreditation and maintains it still today. Life Care, meeting a higher standard because residents matter most.
Are you a shoeanista with no place local to find your style? Well, now you don't have to travel any further than Bren's Shoe Boutique, located at the Village on Jackson, 1940 North Jackson Street, Suite 120 in Tullahoma. From funky to formal, you can find the fit and style that will make you smile at Bren's. A shoeanista herself, owner Brenda Kemp offers brands like Rocket Dog, Jessica Simpson, Mia, Nine West, J. Renee, Bandolino, and more. Want that accessory splash that none of your friends have? Bren's offers a selection of one-of-a-kind handbags and jewelry with just the right bling. So if your shoe selection doesn't stack up, find what you've been looking for at a price you can afford at Bren's Shoe Boutique, now open in Tullahoma.
Let the Smokehouse be your mountain getaway destination in beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee. Enjoy our cabins, restaurant, and old general store. Shop thesmokehouse.com featuring homemade barbecue sauces, jellies, and many other fine Tennessee products. Our live Music on the Mountain series features some of the best local and Nashville talent every Friday and Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. No cover, kids welcome.
We're talking today, folks, with two of our candidates for the Tullahoma School Board. They are Brack Thoma and John Manis, and both these gentlemen have already been there. I want to ask a question, and I think Brack touched on it directly a little earlier. What is your goal for the Tullahoma school system, and how are you going to measure it? John?
Well, one of the goals that I have for the Tullahoma City school system is to make sure that after my term is over, and I'm only running for one more term. After that, I'm not going to run anymore, just for the fact that I want to make sure that other people get the opportunity to represent the community. I think that, you know, it's one of those situations where you need to have that done, and there's a time for us to do certain things. I have, when I started to run, I ran on the platform of getting our maintenance under control and the buildings and the infrastructure. Right now, it's really about the ebook initiative. Was the initiative that myself and Sharon Vance started to push, and want to make sure that we continue to see that through, which obviously we're going to have some tough questions and some decisions we're going to have to make around that. But
well, e-books and yeah. And money seems to be the first obstacle.
Absolutely.
Brack, goal for the system, and how do you measure it?
Tom, several years ago, the board struggled with a mission statement and came up with one that I think is pretty good. And it's, if you go to any of the school board meetings, you'll see it on the back of the building, the back of the wall. So if you're sitting in the front looking back, you see it every time you open your mouth. And it is to provide an opportunity for every child to have a world-class education. Now, I think that was true then. I think it's true today. Obviously, there are a lot of components to it. There are a lot of challenges to it. But from an overview, we must continue to strive to offer the best education that we can to our citizens with the money that we have to work. Now, that changes. E-books wasn't around 10 years ago. So there's an evolution of what that means. But we have to stay state of the art, and we have to stay focused on the goal of providing that opportunity for our children.
How you mentioned e-books, and I know that's one of the items that's on the agenda these days, and among other things, there doesn't seem to be the money around to get it rolling in the beginning, and so I don't know how you're going to make that happen. Talk a little bit about that. If your budget is fixed, if you want to do that, then you're going to have to give something up. How are you going to handle that, Brack?
Well, you don't necessarily have to give something up. But there are trade-offs. Several years ago, our board realized that the standard flow of revenue, if you will, to the school system just would not take care of all the needs. So we went out and hired someone to write grants. Now, that's brought in quite a bit of money to the city, and I think it can bring in a lot more. Grant money might be the answer to starting an e-book program. I think it's probably, as I understand it, it's going to have to be a gradual progression into it. You don't go spend the money and automatically go to an e-book system tomorrow. You bring it on over a period of time, and the number I heard is that for every 3 textbooks, the cost of 3 textbooks, you can institute an e-book replacement. So it'll be an evolution process.
3 books at a time. Huh?
3 books at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, it is one of those things that we obviously are going to need to have some real good planning around, and we've already started to push this. When I and Sharon Vance, who was also an IT professional, started to look at this. Initially, with the state of Tennessee, we really didn't have any guidance from the Tennessee Board or the Tennessee Board of Education around ebook technology. It's rapidly expanding, and I actually learned mostly about it from a national board meeting that I went to about Maine's education program and how they basically put a ebook or an iPad basically is what they went with, but was an iPad in every student's hands. And since then, and some other states have done it, the actual data is just overwhelmingly supportive of us doing and going in this direction. That the way that Brack and I probably learned with textbooks, and education is about engagement. It's about students being engaged in the learning process. And when we were younger, we were handed paper, dittos, and textbooks to do our work. When we do the same thing with children who have been growing up in the digital age, the studies have shown that children do not retain material and information when they read it as well as they do as when they read it in a textbook than as they do in a digital platform. And I don't understand that, because I still sometimes have to, even though I've been in technology for 30 years now, I still sometimes look at the screen, have to print it out, and then to really comprehend it, have to read it tangibly.
They're already familiar with and involved in
yeah, they've grown up with this technology. And I agree with Brack is that we do have to do this in a phased approach. We have talked about what those phases are. One of the great things is, Dr. Lawson has worked with the State Commission on Education and the Commissioner, and has gotten some. We've pushed and said, we know that you don't have this available yet for the state of Tennessee, but what can we do to kind of push the envelope? I didn't want to wait for the state, and I wanted to make sure that we were on the front end of this. And it's all about what we were talking about earlier, which is continuing to make every student have the opportunity to do the best that they can, that we give them that. Not only that, but we talk about the engagement with the student, but it's also the engagement with the teacher and the student together in a platform that really allows them to have a lot more interaction, believe it or not, which we may not think is, even with social media and other things, that we may not understand fully, but children actually are learning this way, and teachers are just so excited about it. They're very supportive of it.
Well, I've heard too, and I don't know how much of this is going to be a real problem. And that is, the job of the teacher is going to change materially. They won't be, it's not stand up in front of the class, and lead the session. And the kids, I guess, students are going to be spending more time on their own in front of their machine rather than listening to the teacher. So that's going to be an interesting process. Okay. Well, again, funding. Mm-hmm. We'd like to go ahead with this. I don't know how much money it takes. You've been on the recent discussions. What do you need?
The initial estimate, as far as we talked about, putting an ebook, a Chromebook, for instance, or a technology that's a platform that's open source that's available. Initially we had talked about $1.3 million at one big chunk, which was to do every single grade, every single school, every single classroom. To do that would take about that kind of an investment. And you were correct about the fact that we do get a return on investment. In fact, the numbers show us that we'll actually start saving money once we actually get the program in place. Right. So it's going to be an investment that we're going to have to make as a community, that is this important to not only further our child's learning experience and foster the very best that they can do, but also to keep up with the technology and the competitiveness of other states and other universities.
You're going to have to figure out how to get that money from some. Yeah, I don't know whether there's no other source that isn't already being tapped, I guess.
Well, Tom, that's a struggle you have regardless of what you're talking about, is you have ebooks or any other activity going on in the school. When you go through the budget process, you very seldom have things that are recommended that you can cut and say those aren't good ideas. The budget process is to prioritize the good projects and cut the line somewhere. So again, ebooks is coming. I hope it comes sooner than later, but given the dollars we have to work with, it will be a gradual thing, because you can't take out something that you're already doing and doing well and replace it with something else. So it's just a gradual process.
Need,
and I think it's, I was driving here today from work, and I was thinking about it, and some of the conversation recently has been around the swimming pool and the D.W. Wilson complex, and the money that's required to provide an outdoor swimming pool. And that's a decision that the community needs to come together and support if that's something the community needs. And just like with ebooks, I believe that the community will embrace this initiative. I believe that just like we need to make investments in our infrastructure and putting on roofs, we've done a lot of work on putting new roofs on, putting windows.
Yeah.
When the Bel Air students go to Bel Air starting next summer, they're going to have brand new windows in their school that have been there since 1952.
Well, it looks like the community has made the decision on the roof, and
Yeah.
wisely, I think that's not something you can ignore. All you do is cause more damage. Well, with that, folks, let's take a short commercial break, and we'll go some more.
Hey, John?
Who needs this modern world? I can live just fine out here without the road rage and boy bands. Of course, I might miss my Charter HD with football on ESPN and Walking Dead on AMC, ESPN and AMC. And, well, Shark Week on Discovery HD, but that's all. AMC, ESPN, Discovery, TBS, and Comedy Central HD, but that's it. Except for HBO HD.
Charter now has over 100 HD channels and more brilliant HD shows on demand than ever.
We're talking today, folks, with the two candidates for the Tullahoma School Board. We have 4 candidates there and only 2 positions. So you got some decisions to make. Election August the 1st, so you don't have all that much time. Let's go to another tough subject that's getting an awful lot of attention these days, and I think the world agrees, you know, that in order to have an excellent school system, you've got to have excellent teachers. There ain't no way around that. So there's a lot of talk about increasing the standards, even to the point of making some sort of measurement on allowing them to go into an education program at the college level to start with, which is kind of interesting. Tougher academic standards for them, and pay based on performance. Those are 2 hot issues these days, so let's take them one at a time. Qualification standards, and some of the best systems around the world insist that the teachers be at the top of their subject field in college. They recruit from the top layer. That means you got to pay them. So that may not be the way we can go. I don't know. Brack, you want to start with that? Standards for
Well,
them?
Tullahoma has had a tradition of hiring teachers that have had experience. And I firmly believe that if you can find a teacher that wants to come into our system that has been a successful classroom teacher for 3 to 5 years, that's more important to me than where they finished in their class standing in college. So we need to continue to try to attract those teachers that have been successful in the classroom before they come to Tullahoma.
And you had a chance to observe how they're doing, how they
That's
got
right.
there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, that's interesting. John?
Yeah, I agree with Brack on this one. I think that we have to look at a candidate that's going to come into our system and make sure that they're a good fit, not just that they have the credentials that they need. I mean, obviously, we always look for the highest level of credential we can. I want to make sure that we hire credentialed teachers when we have the positions available. And I agree with Brack that, you know, I would rather have somebody that has a good track record, and Brack is correct. Typically, we do hire mostly experienced teachers within the system. We've been able to afford to do that, which has been a very good thing for us.
I think we set our pay structure some years ago to do that, didn't
Exactly.
We did,
Exactly.
and that's something that we have to continue to make a commitment to. Another thing that the community needs to understand with that is that there's a price that would tag along with that, and about, you know, Brack and I can talk about all the things that we'd love to be able to do, but the reality of that is about 80+ 80+%, between 80 and 85% of our budget is really about teacher salaries and compensation. So we're left with the small slice to actually have to handle everything else. So we still want to make sure that we have teachers that are engaged and want to be here and are engaged in their students' education, and that goes a lot further to me than how they ranked at a certain university or what university they maybe attended.
Pay based on performance. John, as long as you're at it, why don't you pay based?
You know, this is a tough one because I think in most professions, most people are paid based on their performance. You know, on one side of the coin, I can see that, you know, I'm paid based on my performance and what I bring and with a value that's assessed by my contributions to the company that I work for. In teaching, I believe that there's the ability to distinguish performance. We've been going through this issue right now where the teachers have really been saddled with additional stress over the fact that they are being evaluated in some instances on things that they're not even able to affect in their classroom or by other teachers as well. So there's an initiative right now to actually work with the state to have them look at the way teachers are currently being evaluated. And I'm not a big fan of paying people for performance. We saw what happened in Atlanta with an entire district superintendent, and she's now facing criminal charges where she had national acclamation for all of the things that they were doing there, only to find out later that she was sequestering teachers in and changing grades in a room. So we don't want to have that kind of behavior. We want to make sure that you know, we pay our teachers a salary that's commensurate with their experience and what they bring.
Okay. Brack?
Well, if you paint it with a broad brush, I do endorse pay based on performance. Now, having said that, there are a lot of devils to the detail in that. And as they work through the way that's going to be done, first of all, you're going to have competent people as evaluators. I'm not convinced in education that those that do the evaluation have been really trained to evaluate. One. Two, I would like to see the evaluation based as much as possible on objective standards and not a subjective thought. So, again, philosophically, I like the idea. I think it should be a component. I don't think it should be the total component. But I think there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved before we close the book on it, if you will.
And I think that's what the teachers union is trying to work out with the legislators right now, is to make some compromises around that, because there's a lot of questions still not answered, and in all fairness to our teachers, that, you know, this is a calling for them, this is a career, you know, they need to be evaluated fairly.
Well, true. Well, all right, we're just about to run out of time. A quickie. Economically, we're supposed to have a well-trained workforce. Who is it that is going to make sure that happens? Is there such an animal? Well, having raised the question, it looks like from the clock I'm not going to have time to to get an answer. So for that, I guess we'll have to quit. I want to thank both you gentlemen for taking time to share your views with the voters. It's a very, very, very important subject for us. And thank you, folks, for inviting us into your parlor, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.